and hopefully this will connect. And I'll cut this. Oh, it's showing up. I think my broadcast looks like it's attempting. And I see us on there. and I got to mute my commercials here. There we go.
Sweet.
Okay, hopefully not many people are watching this right now. Okay. I've got to mute my my videos here. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Did I mute? Okay, can I? Oh wait, can I still hear you?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure. I'm going to take a picture too, and
yeah, let's just do picture inception.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Awesome. Live right now. Man, social media, I tell you what. Pain in my ass.
Wild. Well, hello, anyone who's watching. I see no one watching right now, but that's going to change over the next few minutes, I think.
Yeah.
And let's see. I wish the algorithm was not so wouldn't slow things down so much, but let's see.
Oh, I know. It's just it'd be like that. I should have posted like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, I thought about it like
time.
Oh yeah. Let's see. Started streaming. Okay. So juggling so many windows. Cool. Well, we will give people a minute to come in. Awesome. And
I have like no foreground lighting either, so I'm looking for solutions right now.
Oh no. It looks okay right now, but
good.
Is there I guess I guess there's not a window or anything.
No, all my windows are blacked out.
Oh no.
I have like one lamp, but it's hiding behind the torn apart machine right now, so there's no getting that. It's fine though. I might move to the table at some point.
Okay, we have 2 people watching, which might be us, but hello if it's not us.
Hello.
I'm going to say I'm just going to post the thing and delete it later. Live now. Link in bio.
That's exactly what I
did. I wrote it like a hostage note. Live now. Link in bio. Watch. And I did a video. And okay. Negotiating all the socials.
I know. No, it's interesting. I don't know, like I recognize how fundamental social media is, especially in like the industry, like photography in general, photography, videography, but I love doing it, but I also hate doing it.
Yeah, definitely.
So much.
Yeah, there's just so like having to put on the show and having to and a lot of it's not even about like what's the best thing to do or what's the best photo to post. And
which is a bummer. It really is. I mean, I don't know, like it's frustrating too, especially with Instagram now, because like you've got your original, which was like chronological, and it's great, and then they went to algorithm, and then after a while we all kind of figured out the algorithm and it worked, and now they've changed it again, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Like
definitely. I don't like it's frustrating because I understand that some people game it, but for the people who don't game it, it just, we have to change constantly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's really difficult too, because like the way that the algorithm is structured now is like, if I were to save a story that you posted, that makes me more visible on everyone else's feeds, and I'm like, saving it, like, to really, like, that's the thing. Like someone was like, one save of a story or post is equivalent to commenting on 5 other people's posts. And I'm like, where are you getting this math? Like, where are these numbers
Yeah,
from?
yeah, definitely. I guess it's probably already getting there, but like the record industry where they have all these wizards who know all the industry, and basically all they do is they sign some band to a slave contract and then like waste them for 5 years before dumping them and making them pay $500,000 for the recordings.
Yeah. 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 It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, I have friends in bands, so I've heard a lot of stories.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I work with Early Humans,
Oh
which is
yeah,
the band that I work with the most here in Nashville, and they were recently going through and talking to labels and stuff for potential deals, and every time they
yeah,
came out of it, they were like, "It's not worth it. It's not
yeah.
worth it."
If they have any kind of online following
Yeah,
dedicated, just don't, because the label will destroy it. It happened
yeah.
to the Dresden Dolls even, um, like all the
Who is
way.
that?
It's Amanda Palmer's old band.
Okay.
Yeah, that they were a story that was very familiar. I heard her tell that story, and how they just had an ultra dedicated online following. 5 people watching. All right, hello. We'll do a proper introduction in a
Hello.
second. But they had like just ultra dedicated online following, and they signed to a label, and the label was like, okay, well, all that kid stuff can go away. We know what we're doing. We signed so and so big band, and then they make them pay 100 something thousand dollars to record an album as a loan, basically. And they said, okay, well, it's not going to be Coldplay, so see you guys. Also, you can't have your music or your name.
Yeah. Well, that was a big thing that they dealt with too, is that they were like, we don't want to give up the rights to our masters. And I was like,
Yeah,
unfortunately, like that's kind of how almost every label operates. Like, unless you're Taylor Swift or Beyonce or
yeah, yeah.
Coldplay, like
Well,
you're,
even Taylor Swift, like
yeah,
she's getting royally screwed, and you
yeah,
would
she had
think
that
that
whole
if any,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, we got up to six, so I guess we can do a proper introduction now. I don't have like a fancy intro thing or broadcasting
Me
software,
neither.
but so I'm Jamie Malden. I'm Jamie Maldonado. This is my channel. Subscribe if you enjoy this, by the way. And I'm here. I'll let you introduce yourself for today's chat.
Hi, I'm Taylor, also more commonly known as TE Film, and I'm a film photographer from Nashville, Tennessee.
Great. And if you have any questions, or anyone watching has any questions, feel free to ask them. I'm trying to watch the chat better than I have been, and we'll both try to keep an eye on it. If I don't know actually if you are, but we'll try to keep up with this, and hopefully we won't miss anything. But I've got a million windows going on, so yeah. So what might people know about your work, or what would you like to tell people about your thing and what you've been up to?
Yeah. So like I said, I'm a film photographer in Nashville. I think what I'm most known for is I only shoot film. And the majority of my work is in the music industry. So a lot of mostly DIY music. And I tour. Well, I did tour quite a bit before the
Yeah,
pandemic, and I built a mobile darkroom to take on tour with me, so that I wouldn't have to shoot digital on the road, but could still provide social media and tour content, to help promote shows in new cities. So yeah, that's what I do. I also run a film lab. It's the TE Film Studio, and I develop C41 in black and white in this shed here. And yeah, I do a lot. I do a lot all the time. There's tons of
that's
other
awesome.
projects too, but that's really like mostly what I'm known for.
Cool. So you've been busy with developing film. I've heard.
Yeah, yeah. I this past week in the lab has actually been the busiest I've been in a while. And I think that's partly in thanks to my friend Alex. He's an incredible videographer from here in Nashville. He goes under the name of All Eyes. And I had him come out and do some promo videos for the studio, just to kind of like show the work that I do, because I do development and scanning, but I also do consultations, camera repair, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So he did some videos for me, and like this past week I've gotten like 25 rolls of film into the lab.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. And I develop everything by hand. So it's actually like a pretty like time intensive process. So I've been working like 8 days a week this week to get it all done.
Yeah.
Yeah, my turnaround times are kind of like low for doing it by hand. I usually I try and get stuff done between 5 and 7 business days. And I can usually develop about 6 rolls a day just because I have to heat up my water and everything like that. So it's a slog, but it's great. I love it.
That's awesome. So what have you been doing? Like, have you been doing a lot of C41 or any black and white or anything like that?
Mostly C41. That's the bulk of what I do. I do black and white as well. I get mostly 35, but I also develop 120. And I'm actually about to branch into the wide world of ECN2.
That's awesome.
Motion picture film. Yeah. I'm really, really excited about that. And I'm actually working with a friend. This is the first time I've talked about this at all. But a friend and I are very, very interested in motion picture film development for 8 and 16 millimeter. And right now that's very expensive. And the scanning is really what's expensive. And so we are in the process of finding a way to make a more prosumer option for 8 and 16 millimeter scanning that can be implemented in small labs and at home. We're very excited about it. It's very, very early. Super duper early on in that, but we know people in the industry who shoot a lot of movie film, and I have like 8 rolls of family film right now that they want developed. And so
I've got 2 rolls of 16 millimeter I've been trying to get her, and we have 2 questions. You can finish, but we have actually 2 questions.
Oh, okay, cool. So we're looking into creating a way, because like right now, like the labs that develop and scan motion picture film are so expensive because they're the only ones who are doing it, and there's no innovation in that industry right now. And so
they're doing like thousands of feet at a time too.
Right. And but even like for a small order, you would send it in, it's $100. So we're like, okay, well, we think we can offer something cheaper and newer that implements new technology that's coming out, and working with companies that we know and love who are creating tools for the modern film.
And I heard
photographer.
Oh yeah. I heard Camera Dactyl, Ethan, if you know about them, he was talking about making a telecine because he did that automatic film scanner.
Yeah.
And he said his next project might be to do a telecine. So maybe you should get in touch with him and say, hey, that's another potential client if you want to get onto that project next.
Yeah. I definitely
he's really cool to follow. So first question, since the second question is actually on this direct topic, we'll start with that because it'll be pretty quick. What kind of scanning do you offer?
So I offer, I have actually 2 different options. For my 120 film, I scan with an Epson V550, and I use Silverfast software. And then for my 35 millimeter, I use a Plus Tech. It's all high res, huge, gigantic image sizes. But with that particular kind of scanning, I actually scan frame by frame. And I go through and I do very, very high key edits on my film. So like not like color or, anything like that, but I make sure that, all the dust is gone. And I do actually go frame by frame and pull images into Photoshop and like grain edit to make sure that, they're flawless. And I will do mild if I notice that a roll of film is, potentially underexposed, which a lot of times it is. I'll go in and I will do very, very light retouching to pretty much deliver the best images that are possible.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I offered that, but I also just started DSLR scanning as well.
Nice.
So I'm actually working with Negative Supply, demoing their light table and their Mark 1 frame or Mark 1 film carrier. So I will be offering that on my site soon.
That's
as well.
Cool. That's how I got my like YouTube break, because I did a DSLR scan video, and I guess it was one of the first ones on YouTube. So it's got like 100,000 views on it and stuff like that. So
that's awesome.
It's really cool. Too bad I wasn't monetized.
I know, right? another social media thing.
Yeah, exactly. And the second question, which ties back into your photography practice. Does the client actively seek out the film aesthetic, or is it your visual style that sells the work?
Ooh. Um, I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, that's kind of a hard question to answer because
Yeah,
film does the work for me. Like my aesthetic comes from the film itself. So like when I
yeah,
choose a roll of film, I know what it's going to look like, and I know like what color profile it's going to have, and I know like what kind of motion work or whatever I can do with it. And so it really does a lot of the aesthetic work. I think that my style in general, I do a lot of light and motion play, and I think that people are really drawn to that.
yeah,
So I would have to say a little bit of both. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, because I mean I've been shooting film for, you know, going on a little over half a decade,
yeah.
which it makes me a baby. It makes me very green. But I've learned how to make film work for what I want it to do, and
Yeah,
I like to push its limits and get fussy with it because
yeah.
it's so much fun.
And I see it as maybe inseparable from what your style is right now, because you do the live music thing, and I can see that you're trying to capture the spirit of those types of shows and the energy, and so digital is known for being so clean and so clinical, but those types of shows are like that type of lifestyle is like sweaty and everyone gets sick, and before
Yeah.
yeah, before all
Yeah,
this
no, definitely.
yeah, and it's just like the barely getting to shower, eating junk food, and the energy of the crowd and the music and everything, and that that is so easy, much easier to get a direct line to that feeling on film to me.
No, I absolutely agree. And I think you're right. Like I did shoot digital for a very short period of time, probably up until about the beginning of 2019. I actually said by 2020 that I would not shoot digital anymore. And by March of 2019, I'd had it. I was like, you know what? I'm done. I hated my work. And like the kind of light work that you can do on digital is cool. I've seen a lot of
Yeah,
photographers do some really beautiful things, but it just wasn't what I was looking for. It just felt more like a special effect to me and not as indicative of the flow and the motion of what happens, because you're right, DIY is very, it's special. That like DIY music is special. The underground is so much fun, and like when you get 50 people like packed into like a 200 square feet room, and you've got like, I mean, everyone piled on top of each other, and like you got people in an audience who have traveled 40-50 miles to come see
oh
this
yeah,
show, and they're screaming into the mic, and while this guy's like writhing on the floor. Like, I mean, it's a whole thing. It's a whole connectivity that you don't really get at bigger shows. It's very
oh yeah,
community oriented, it's very emotional, and like that's what I want to do. I want to capture the emotion and, yeah, the spirit of
yeah,
DIY.
yeah. And for people who haven't been in that kind of scene, it's not like you go and buy your tickets online and then you go to the giant arena and just walk into the floor, spend your 2 hours there and leave, buy a t-shirt on the way out. It's like you're hanging out with friends, and sometimes you'll have, if it's the right band, you'll have friends who've traveled half across the country to get there, and it's like it's a real event, and you're there till like 3 in the morning, or you're
Yeah.
eating at some overnight diner after the show. And so
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of that in there. I can feel that in the photographs.
Oh,
So
thank you. That's, I
you're
mean,
welcome.
that's the goal. And I mean, it is very community oriented. Like some of my favorite people that I've ever met have just been in passing at these shows. And like, yeah, you don't like there's a lot of work that goes into DIY, a lot of like guerrilla marketing, like a
Oh
lot
yeah,
of like posting the same show flyers over and over, deleting posts, making new posts, like telling your friends, like texting people,
oh yeah,
like really, like you have to work really, really hard. And depending on what's going on at the time, sometimes it's hard to get a turnout. Maybe your like supporting bands aren't as high of a pull, or maybe you aren't as high as a pull. And
yeah,
like it's hard. There are hard nights too. And
oh yeah,
I think that's something that I really love to do on tour, is that I think that tour is glamorized sometimes.
Oh yeah.
And you know, like, I mean, and it, don't get me wrong, it is an absolute blast, and I wouldn't trade a single bad day for like the experiences that I've had. But
Oh yeah.
it is a very, very hard lifestyle. And so what I try to do is I try to capture all of it, like the good, the bad, just what is, and not what people want it to be, or not what we want to make it seem like from the outside looking in, because I think that people really resonate with the struggle. And I think that if people see how hard it is and how hard you work, they're more inclined to be interested in listening to your music and supporting your band, because they know that you're willing to put in the hard work. And so
Oh
when
yeah.
days are bad, like, I get those photos too. When we're having to sleep crammed in a tour bus seat, I get those photos too. You know, it
Oh
just
yeah.
because the people that I roll with are so dedicated to what they're doing, and they really, really believe in the music and in the scene, and like they'll go to the ends of the earth for it, and that's
Oh yeah.
really special to me.
That's awesome. And that's like that's a thing like a camera is a camera, a picture is a picture, digital or film, but you want the thing that's going to resonate most with what you want to with what you do and what you want to capture. And I think a lot of that is just really tightly woven like that into that scene. And like we talked about Charles Peterson.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Love
for those who don't know, he basically gave us the grunge look of live music in the
literal
early 90s
icon,
and late
honestly.
80s. Yeah. And I remember when I was a kid, Nirvana, I was like 12 years old when I discovered Nirvana, and Nirvana was still an actual thing and Kurt was still alive. And I got the cassette for Bleach when it got
Yeah.
re-released on by a major label, and I got it at Walmart, and I didn't know there were like underground albums or like people recorded albums independently before they got to a major label. This is all new to me. So I found like, oh, Nirvana, you know, they put out an album. I wonder if they have anything else. And you find this little black and white cassette, and those pictures just like burn into your 12-year-old brain. And that like black and white in a sweaty tiny show in a club with a flash, a direct flash, and that look is just like automatically set into my brain as this is what, you know, concert photography is. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I love that look. It's like the harsh light, and I don't know, capturing the movement. And Charles Peterson does a really, really good job. Like, well, does or did. I don't know if he's still alive.
Oh yeah, he's still active. Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think he's
I
going to
did
shows
actually.
anymore, but yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, I was like, well, I don't even know. Like, I actually have never even seen a photo of this person. I just know the work, like,
Oh yeah.
which I feel like
Yeah,
that's
and
kind of
he's
how it goes with me too. Like, I
yeah.
have people who will like post on, like, I'll see like some band will post something of mine on Instagram, and like someone will be like, oh yeah, I saw this and I knew it was TE Film, and I was like, yeah, but you probably wouldn't
Awesome.
recognize me at a show.
That's awesome.
But that's great.
It
I mean,
was
that's why I'm there.
yeah.
I'm not there for me.
Oh yeah. So how is life in COVID times for you as a person who covers things like that?
It has been, oh man, I'm not really one to sugarcoat at all. It has been really, really difficult. It's been heartbreaking.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm feeling a little emotional about it.
Oh
If I think about it too hard, you know, it feels like part of me is not here.
yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, this is what I do. And you know, this year I was so excited because, you know, Early Humans was going to be touring, and uh, a really big tour to promote their
Yeah.
new album that came out back in October, September.
Oh
I
wow.
don't even know now. And they had like like a 3-week tour planned, and like I had tour plans with a couple of other bands, and
Yeah.
you know, everything's at a standstill, and touring is what I love to do more than anything. And so not having that to look forward to has been really, really difficult. It's been hard to pivot. It's been
Yeah.
really easy to be angry and unmotivated.
Yeah.
But you know, that's just it's exhausting to be angry,
Yeah.
and to you know, I have to remember that me not being able to tour is not nearly as bad as people losing their loved ones, or you know, like
Yeah.
just everything that's going on right now. It's not, it's nothing. So I just have to remember to be grateful that I have the opportunity to have a lab and to do other things. And I'm just really, really waiting for the day. And I can tell in my community, it's been hard too. You know, I've seen some people from time to time, you know, I mean, most of my friends are musicians. And every once in a while when, you know, we're able to have coffee or something like that, you know, we'll talk about it. And just having local shows, being able to, you know, have something like that happen means a lot to everyone. And not having that, you know, I've watched a lot of my really close friends struggle, and it's, you know, we're doing the best we can to like support one another through it. So, you know, we're all just waiting for the day. You know?
You did a like a distance project when things were starting.
So that's actually a very, very big project. So the umbrella over it is called the Inhuman Experience. So this I'll take a little bit of time to tell the story about this. So back in 2018, I heard of this photography conference called Field Trip. And it's hosted out in California, and I wanted to go. And I looked online, and it was like way too expensive, and I was like, I can't afford this. Like, I was like bartending at the time, and like not a great place. I was like, I can't really afford this. It's fine. And then they ended up having a scholarship program, and I saw it, and I was like, I don't know. And then I got an email that was like, this is your last day to submit an essay for a scholarship. And I was like, why not? And so I sent them an essay about why I wanted to go and, you know, what photography meant to me. And I got an email less than 6 hours later, and they said, you got our last spot. Cool. And I was like, okay, it's meant to be. And it was still about $1,000, you know, with my flight and everything. So I was like, all right. So I worked in the darkroom for probably like 100 hours creating these prints. And I did prints to help raise the money to be able to go. And while I was there, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm blanking on his name right now. Stephen Hunt. Is this guy who was one of the keynote speakers. And he has this project called We're All Going to Die. And he told his story about how he had lived with like crippling anxiety for, you know, a long time. And that, you know, one day he just decided like, why not choose? Why not? And was like, you know, there's only one guarantee in life, is that we're all going to die. So why not do everything that you can before then, because nothing else is guaranteed. And I was like, okay, wow, that's really amazing. And so I did a seminar with him, and he had this little, actually it's sitting right here. Cool. It's on my bulletin board. It's this Before I Die card. It says, before you die, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to do a project about mental illness in my community, and mental health. And, because that's something that's really, really important to me. And so when I launched my business a couple months after that whole experience changed my life too. I came home, quit my job, and was like, I'm going to be a photographer. And when I came home and announced launched my business about 2 months later, I announced the Inhuman Experience. That's cool. And the first installment, which has not actually happened yet, is called Lights in the Darkness. And it's going to be interviews with individual people who live with a specific type of mental illness, whether it be bipolar disorder or major depressive disorder, ADD, ADHD, whatever it might be. And I really want to interview these people. And I actually have people who have volunteered to do so. Cool. And then, you know, I have a set of questions that I'll ask them about what it's like to live with this mental illness. And then from that interview, we'll be able to take photos that kind of go in with the concept. Yeah. And so that is, the Inhuman Experience is more or less a photojournalism project that, you know, seeks to tell people stories.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so the one that I did for the pandemic was called Alone. And it's just highlighting the effects of isolation through COVID-19. So I went and I did Zoom interviews with people, and then I went and did front porch photo sessions with them and took like a few photos of them. And yeah, it was a really, really cool experience. And I got to meet people that I didn't know. People I had no idea who they were, signed up for it. And I was like, this is awesome. Made
That's
some
really cool.
Yeah, like I made some really cool new friends through that. And that entire series has actually not been released yet. I still have maybe 5 interviews to release, but I put that one on hold because right around the tail end of it was when all of the Black Lives Matter protests in Nashville started, and I wanted to kind of shift focus to telling stories about what it's like to be a person of color in my community. And yeah, people's experiences with, racism and social injustice and police brutality. And so I actually conducted an interview with a rapper here in Nashville named G Slab. I've actually worked with him before. I did some behind the scenes photo shoots for a music video for him. And we've just followed each other's careers throughout the years. And I reached out to him and asked him if he would be comfortable with me interviewing him about his experience. And he said, yeah. And so, we sat down for maybe about an hour and a half, and it was the most humbling. I have no words. It was the most humbling, thing I have ever been a part of.
Wow.
It's just, it took me a second after our interview. I was dumbfounded for 3 days. I was speechless because I can't, I'm a very empathetic person. And this is something that I cannot empathize with. I cannot empathize with racism. I cannot empathize with someone who's treated as lesser because of the color of their skin. And so that's really hard for me to swallow. And I had to keep reminding myself that this is not about me. This is not about me. It's not about my feelings. This is about someone who's experiencing something that needs to be talked about, that people really need to understand that this is a normal person who has been put into extraordinary and horrifying circumstances simply because of their skin color. And that needs to be the focus. And so we actually just got together to schedule his photo session.
Cool.
Yeah, so I'm really, really excited about that. I'm really excited to interview others in my community as well. It's difficult. As far as projects go, because it's really important to me to take photos of people that don't present a caricature of them and what they go through. And so, I sat with G and I talked to him, and I was like, I'm having a hard time racking my brains, and I'm having a hard time coming up with photos for this because I don't want it to be I don't want it to be anything that it's not. I don't want you to be presented as anything other than who you are. And so we decided that for his shoot, we would highlight the things, about his life that are important to him, that, are special to him, that are kind of things that we talked about in our interview. And so I'm really excited about it. I'm very honored to be trusted as a white woman to interview, people of color in my community like that. It's not a trust that I feel like I inherently deserve. And so to have that and to have earned that and to be able to work with people who have really, really incredible stories to tell, it means a lot to me. So definitely. All in all, the Inhuman Experience is an umbrella for a lot of different projects.
That's cool.
And it's all about the human experience. It's all about the real shit. That's what I like to talk about the most. The interviews are hard. They're heavy hitting. I ask a lot of questions that might be kind of invasive. And I tell people, if you don't want to answer, you don't have to, but I'm going to go as far as you let me, because I think that people really need to understand what it's like to live the life that you live, because I think it will breed compassion and understanding and will help break the stigma of mental trauma and mental health and everything in between. So
and I find that one of the biggest obstacle is mostly people aren't exposed to this stuff, because some people will react, and it's like, oh, that doesn't apply to me, or you're making it up. But a lot of people just aren't aware of it, and they just have to leave their bubble. And we have one question related to this: is would you consider documenting the impact of COVID on the touring live music scene?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I feel like I have a little bit. Some of the interviews that I did for the Alone project were with people who are in bands. So I talked to Ryan from Early Humans. He and his girlfriend did an interview. And then I also talked to my friend JJ, who is a drummer for Idle Threat. I'm actually wearing their shirt.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's one of my great friends. And I interviewed him as well about the impact that it's had on him too, because they just got signed. So
Oh, yeah.
their whole year is just bamboozled, basically.
Oh, yeah.
So, but I would definitely be interested in picking up the project, especially because, you know, when at the outset of this, we were all like, okay, we're going to go into quarantine and like maybe by the end of the year, it'll be over.
Oh, yeah.
Well, la-di-da.
Yeah.
Here we are extending into 2021, you know?
Yeah. And
So,
I remember thinking like, oh, by summer we'll be able to do something.
yeah. Nope, nothing. But I definitely would be interested in picking up the project again and speaking with people in the live music community. It's each interview of the Inhuman Experience is incredibly draining. Not only like not just like with time, because each one, like I put a lot of time and effort into every single photo set, into every single interview, and they are time exhaustive, but they're also emotionally exhaustive as well. Like I was pushing out 2 interviews a week at the beginning of Alone, and I was completely drained. Like you're absorbing everything that you feel is amplified by the pain and the difficulty that others are going through. So I have had to pump the brakes a little bit on it because, you know, for the sake of my own mental health, you know, because that's, you know, I have to take care of myself so that I can do right by the people that I'm interviewing. So yes, in short, would love to do it. I just don't know quite when right now.
Well, yeah. There's a long time. These projects go on for so long. This will actually go into, I think, my next set of questions will be about like influence and stuff. But have you like looked into the work of like Gordon Parks and stuff like that?
No.
Okay. I highly recommend that. He was basically the first. He wasn't literally, but basically the first prominent Black photographer of photojournalism and stuff like that. He was a true Renaissance man. When you say somebody's like, you know, good at everything, he was literally like, he was a jazz pianist, like a classical pianist. He was a poet, a painter. He directed the movie Shaft.
Oh, nice. Okay.
he wrote novels and they were good. I think he won an Oscar for his I can't remember, but
wow.
He was literally good at everything. But he was a photojournalist at his core, and he started with the Farm Security Administration, covering racism basically. And but Half Past Autumn is a documentary about him.
I'm writing all of this down right now because I'm super excited. So that's why I'm not looking. I'm like sitting here like taking notes.
No, I understand.
Notes.
Oh yeah. I think you'll just completely be floored. And he was a Midwestern. He came from Minnesota and Kansas and branched out. And he just like literally anything he did, he was incredible at.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to look into his stuff. I really can.
Oh yeah, and he was just a phenomenal photographer too. And he did straight journalism, fashion photography in Paris, and just everything.
Yeah.
So we mentioned Charles Peterson. Do you what influences do you have as a photographer or artist?
So interestingly enough, most of my influences are not of today. Which, you know, it's weird to me. I don't know that many people. Okay, I say that. Let me take that back. I know quite a few people in the film photography community and in the creative communities. But I don't think I know as many people as I should. I actually have like crippling anxiety about meeting other creatives, or looking into other people's work, because I have like I deal with some pretty severe imposter syndrome, which is like crazy. I'm
familiar.
Yeah, like I've dealt with imposter syndrome for a really long time. So I'm always very intimidated by
Yeah.
others. And so, which is like, it's saying it out loud, it feels so silly.
No,
I feel
I
so,
understand.
but yeah, like
Yeah.
most of my influences are actually one of my principal influences is Ansel Adams, which I think is a very like rote kind of like cliche like answer to that question, but it's not even his work that inspires me. It's his philosophy on photography and what
Oh
taking a
yeah.
photograph really means,
Oh
and
yeah.
the community kind of aspect that he had with it.
Oh
I've
yeah.
been reading this book of letters by Ansel Adams.
That's cool.
Oh man, it's revolutionized the way that I think about taking a photo.
Oh yeah.
I wish I had the book out here so I could read it, but there's this line in he's writing a letter to his father, and he's talking about like taking a photograph not for the purpose of marking a moment passing in time, but to identify specific things like the way that light glints off the water as it's rushing down a stream, like to capture something more than a moment. And like, man, I love that.
Oh
And
yeah.
and I love his philosophy. Like when he had his home with his wife, they had a parlor at the front of their house, and
Yeah.
then a little bit past that there's a hallway, and then down the hall into another room was his dark room. And so he loved hosting gatherings at his home. So his wife would entertain people in the parlor, and then he would be in the lab, and
Oh.
he would come out with his apron and his goggles and his gloves, and he would like come out and put his goggles on his head and talk to the people
Oh
who
yeah.
they were being entertained in his home. And it was like this very community thing. Like he would go, he would chat, he would spend time with these people, and then he'd go back into his lab and
That's
work for a
cool.
little while, and he'd just
Yeah.
dart back and forth. And like that's my lab. Like when people come,
Yeah.
they stay for an hour or two at a time, and I've made it to where I can develop film with the light on. And so like I'm able to have people here and spend time with them while I'm working.
That's
And
cool.
it's I love sharing what I do with people. Like it any questions outside of stuff about my mobile darkroom, I'm not a gatekeeper of information. I'll talk to anyone about it.
Yeah.
Because I love sharing it.
Oh
So
yeah.
he's a huge inspiration. Irving Penn is another one. I really
Ooh.
love his body work. He would just put people in really weird positions in like
Yeah.
corners of rooms or like,
Oh
whatnot.
yeah.
And I really love that as well.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I love Irving Penn. I love Dorothea Lange.
Mm-hmm.
Her emotive work with people, really capturing the spirit of people,
Oh
was
yeah.
just very, very inspiring. So yeah, a lot of my influences are, no longer, working as
Yeah,
much.
well, they're the
Yeah.
classics. They're the
Yeah.
foundation, and also my mentor, the person I learned most about photography from, my junior college photography instructor. He actually attended and taught at one of Ansel Adams's or two of Ansel Adams's workshops when he was still alive, and got to work with Ansel and
That's
work
the
for
coolest thing in
Ansel.
the entire world.
Yeah, and he'd have handouts in class that were photocopies of the actual handouts from the workshop.
Oh
So it
my
was like
God.
Ansel Adams and John Sexton's actual notes to the class.
That's amazing. That's
It was
amazing.
a very cool connection.
Like it's like one of my life goals to this is so stupid. It's one of my life goals to be in a random antique or flea market shop and find a small Ansel Adams print that someone just didn't realize what it was,
Oh
because
yeah.
they're out there. Someone
Oh yeah.
as recently as the past 2 years found one in a
Wow.
shop, and it was authentic. And I was like, if I were to find an Ansel Adams in a shop somewhere,
Yeah.
I would
I
lose my mind.
oh yeah. I would go to books, or when I go to bookstores, always used bookstores, always look through the first pages of any book. I have found multiple autographed books, unknown. Like I got the best one I think was Mary Ellen Mark. Do you know her work?
Uh-uh.
If you like, she's basically like, depending on who you ask, like Annie Leibovitz stole her core stole her work. But
Nice.
that's like depending, but she was much more hardcore pure journalist. And she did a lot about, like, she did a lot about poverty and mental illness and stuff like that, and that was a big core of her work.
That's
And
really
so
sorry, I'm writing that down too.
no, that's fine. No,
No, that's
just
amazing.
more of the classics, which is really what I mean. I learned from Rufus was the name of my mentor, and is the name of my mentor, and he would tell us about all of these classics, and then you move into when color photography becomes a thing, and then from there, and then of course, then you find all the modern people, but it helps to know the core of where it all came from, and it helps you also as somebody who's kind of in the age of you have to reinvent the wheel on darkroom stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
That I've heard a lot of people say, oh, if only there was a way that this thing could happen. And it's like, it probably happened at some point. Somebody probably thought of that in the 70s or 80s, and you just have to dig really, really deep to figure it out. Or unless some older person isn't nice enough to tell you, which they have a tendency not to be sometimes.
Yeah, I've noticed that about some of the old heads in photography. But I mean, that's actually how the mobile darkroom came to be. There are no modern resources for that, and I think about, also, I cannot believe I did not bring the Robert Capa.
Oh yeah, of course.
Capa is also one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And probably I think he was, other than Ansel Adams, I think he was probably one of my first favorites.
That's awesome.
Love Robert Capa, and I thought about him when I was building out the mobile darkroom, and I was like, there had to be a way, because you think about, like, he's like front lines of war, and he's developing this film and sending it to be printed for news and things like that. And I'm like, there has to be a way. There has to be a way to do this in the field. There has to be. So I did a lot of research and a lot of digging, and that's how the mobile darkroom came around. It was a very deep dive into the history of photography, and so
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So can you describe the mobile darkroom for a person who's not familiar with what you're talking about?
Yeah. So basically, it is my whole setup.
I might be losing audio right here. Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Am I good?
Let's see if we can get it back.
Am I good?
No. Oh no.
Oh, no.
I don't know if it's just on my end or
how are we now?
Nope.
Do I need to go in?
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Okay.
How about this?
No, still. Maybe. Let's see. Maybe we need to take a 5-minute break to switch locations.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I will try to keep everyone entertained.
Okay.
So yeah, we're having a little technical difficulty, but really it shouldn't take long. She's got another location to use. I don't know if you can't hear it. I can't hear it. Oh, okay. So we have one person who can hear both of us, but I can't hear you. That's weird. No. I'm going to check my my connection too. So I wish I had some hold music or something.
If someone else can still hear me. La.
Don't hear anything.
Waiting.
Okay.
Nothing still.
No. Let me. Okay. This has got to. Okay.
Testing.
Okay. There's got to be a way. Okay. Okay. There's. Oh, okay. I might be having speaker issues.
Oh.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Let's see if. Okay.
No?
Okay. I think we're good.
Yeah?
Okay, we're good. Okay.
Yay. Okay.
Okay. Well,
good.
hopefully.
All right. So, do I need to relocate? I think we're good.
No, you're good.
Okay. I moved myself a little bit too, just in case it's my hotspot. So.
Okay.
Alrighty. Yeah, that maybe we'll have better here. So mobile darkroom. So basically my entire setup, which is over here. Oh wait, there. that's pretty much my dark room over there. I found a way to condense that down into a dark room in a duffel bag, basically. And so when I'm on the road, I shoot and develop one roll of film a day. Yeah, so wherever we land, I'm able to develop film anywhere, whether it's a crust punk venue bathroom or someone's mom's kitchen or you know, wherever, a hotel room. If
That's
we are
cool.
lucky enough to stay in a hotel or Airbnb, I'm
Yeah.
able to develop film anywhere. And so that's what I do. I was shooting digital on the road, and I didn't like it. I was
Yeah.
going between digital and film, and I wasn't happy with my work because I was having to change my frame of mind from camera to
Yeah.
camera, which is not, I'm kind of one track minded. I've got ADHD, so I have to be. And so I was like, you know what? I got to figure it out. I have to find a way. So yeah. And the first time I rolled out the mobile darkroom, it was only for black and white. And it was something.
Yeah.
I did it on a tour with a band called Moru, which is a hardcore or metal band here in Nashville. They'll kill me for
Okay.
saying they're hardcore. They're a metal band here in Nashville. And I forgot my reels.
Oh no.
And so I was like, oh no. So I developed my first roll of film without a without a reel.
Wow.
I ruined about half of it. All the emulsion stuck together and came
Oh
off.
no.
But it was amazing because we stopped in Chattanooga, and there's a dark room out there called Safe Light. And
yeah.
I reached out to them and I was like, hey, I'm touring with a mobile darkroom. I forgot my reels. Can I borrow some reels and mail them back? And they were like, absolutely. And it
Oh,
turned out that their darkroom was right next to the venue. So
awesome.
they
I
they
love
left.
that.
Yeah, I know. So they left them on the porch for me, and I was able to
Cool.
borrow them. They were my saving grace. And
That's
thankfully on
awesome.
that tour, I had also brought a digital camera. So
Yeah.
I was able to still shoot. And then after that, I decided to go fully film, and I took the darkroom out 2 more times. The third time, actually, all 3 times was just black and white. I
Yeah.
also did I shot color film and then cross processed in black and white chemistry
Oh,
because it makes it
nice.
all like pink and weird.
Yeah.
And I took it out twice with early humans, and they love the weird film shit. So
That's awesome.
I do so much crazy stuff with them on the road because they're always just like, oh, I want to see what you're doing. Like,
That's cool. They get
um,
to be your lab, and then they get the benefit of you getting to experiment.
yeah, they're like my forever guinea pigs.
That's
'Cause
awesome.
I'm just like, I want to do like something weird, like throw beer in my dev tank in between the stop and fix. I don't know, some random
Yeah.
stuff. But I actually developed this it's a little, I don't promote it very much anymore, but it's called Trashed. And so when I do a live show shoot, I will scan in like the clean negatives, and then I
Yeah.
will go back and trash the film. So I
Nice.
will soak it in wine or rub bath salts on it, or use a little bit of like maybe some high pigment dye and just like throw it on there with my
Yeah.
fingers, or crazy stuff, and then I'll go back and I'll rescan it and
That's
for some
awesome.
like cooler effects. So that way bands
Yeah.
have the option of really clean photos or some stuff that's a little bit more like my style.
Yeah.
So I'm actually in the process right now of building. The first iteration was just called Moby. That's my mobile darkroom's name.
Nice.
And then Moby 2.0 was the one I rolled out with early humans. And then
Cool.
I'm working on Moby 3.0 right now, which will be a darkroom. It'll be in a hard case, kind of like a road case
Cool.
for
Yeah.
gear. So I'll have it in a gear case, and I'm working on building a temperature control bath that will house inside of it so that I can do color and black and white on the road.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
so very
I,
excited.
I, I guess some people might know you from your analog talk interview, which is where I first heard about you.
Oh, yay!
Yeah.
I
So,
love them.
oh yeah, they're great. I really enjoy that, and for the reason that you discover new people.
Yeah, I
um,
know. I love Chris and Timothy so much.
oh
And
yeah.
I'm super stoked because Chris works with Negative Supply now.
Oh yeah.
And she was the one that reached out to me about demoing with them. And
That's
so,
cool.
yeah, I was really excited about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But you had mentioned wanting to make prints at shows.
Yes.
I have you made any advancement on that enlarger idea you had?
I haven't. No, honestly, it was something that I really started conceptualizing and started 3D modeling a little bit.
Yeah.
And I talked to one of my darkroom pals here in Nashville. Erin Keiss is one of she runs the Nashville Community Darkroom.
Oh,
And
okay.
she told me about this really cool, like 4x5 contact print thing that her grandfather used back in the day. And so I started
Mhm.
looking into that a little bit because I was like, okay, may I don't know if that would work, but
Yeah.
at least some kind of old tech is out there for me to
Yeah.
maybe pinpoint and work
I
from.
actually I actually have another thing for you to look at because I
Uh-huh.
heard that. And so when I worked at my university and grad school, I they had 40 years of photo history just shoved onto every shelf, everything like uh they had a fridge full of every type of dead film and all this stuff. And so on one of the shelves was this big weird plastic box, and Polaroid had put it out. And what it was is a Polaroid enlarger that they had made in the 80s, probably back when they had their peel apart 4x5 film. You could
Yeah.
print images onto that film and stuff like that. But it was like this plastic cone. And I'll try to look it up and send you a link. But I was like, that might be the type of self-enclosed thing that you would find interesting for, because like they had their mobile lab, like Impossible had that
Yeah.
little fold out thing. It might be
Yeah.
that might be your way of protecting it from light.
Yes. Yes,
And
I'm
that,
definitely
yeah.
interested in any resource for that because I think it would be really, really cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, printing on the road, I think it'd be really special because I'd be able
Yeah.
to do like 2 or 3 per night, and then the next night they could sell them as merch and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a really, really unique thing to do on the road. Nobody's doing it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's trying to pioneer wherever I can because I love it.
Yeah.
I love it so much, and I want to be able to do every bit of it no matter where I am.
Yeah, and that's a thing that you can, I guess, work on during these times. Is like where, like, I keep thinking about when we finally do get to reemerge into the world, how exciting everything is going
Yeah.
to be able to just do something like. And I know like live entertainment in general is just, this is possibly the worst time in modern history.
Yeah.
Um, but the people, I think the enthusiasm for it is going to be just incredible when it finally gets to happen again and people feel secure enough to enjoy it. So
Yeah.
there's also this thing, speaking of history, I'm all over the place too. So
Oh, it's
uh,
cool.
there's they call them colloquial photography, like just local kind of like portrait type photography things. But on the border with Mexico, they had all these little joints, like these bars along the border where like rich guys would go down and meet Mexican women, for illicit purposes.
Right.
And they would have these photographers at the bars to say, "I'll take your picture with this woman," and it was just some, like going to Las Vegas and getting a snapshot or something like that these days. And what they would do is they take the picture probably on like a Graflex or something like that. They'd run it to a back room, they'd develop it, and then put the negative when it was still wet into an enlarger and print it. And then they would just do these like rapid fire grungy dime a dozen prints kind of, and you could, if you look up, I'll try to send you a link to this too, but it's like they call it colloquial photography. There was a Texas Monthly story on it years ago, and I know a bunch of Texas Monthly people, so
Yeah.
I would always hear about this stuff. But just these, they'd have the flash on the Graflex probably or whatever, and just knock these things out same night. They'd force dry it probably, and just
Yeah.
get it to the person to get $10 or whatever. And what it was is they found all these photographs by, in this darkroom, they would make a bunch of prints and they'd have test prints or like, oh, this one's over underexposed, and they just throw them on the floor, or they would have two that were close, but like, okay, this is the one the client wants, so they just throw it in a corner. And so after decades or years at least of this, they would have like, have you seen Amelie, the movie?
Oh yeah.
The scene, the photo booth scene with all the junk, like the test photos stuck under it, was kind of like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
they have
cool.
collections of these photographs of these strange men with these women and on the border.
Oh, that's cool though.
Yeah.
I'm having like DIY rapid fire in my brain right
Oh
now. And
yeah.
oh, this would be so sick.
Yeah. So I just I think the enthusiasm, people will feel how special it is again. Like I remember going to movies before and be like, this feels so ho hum. Like even the theaters, like go sit in your chair and watch a movie. And now it's going to be like, all right, I get to sit in a chair and watch a movie.
Right, right. Yeah, no, I think that the entire, I don't know, like it's people are hungry now, and I think
Yeah.
that they're hungry for that connection, because
Oh
that's the
yeah.
one thing that you really get in DIY is like, man, it makes me want to cry. I'm telling you. I can just feel it in me. Like it's not gone. It's just been
Oh
buried
yeah.
under a year of grief, but it's
Yeah.
just there is something so incredibly special, and like it's this element of community and this belongingness that you it's so special. I don't know how else to
Yeah. Oh
describe
yeah.
it.
Well,
And
that's yeah.
yeah, and so I think that people are going to be ravenous when they come out to shows. I think the
Oh yeah.
energy is going to be so high, and it's going to be so exciting, and I can't wait for it.
Oh yeah.
I'm just so looking forward to it.
Oh yeah. Me too. You might have heard my dogs for a second.
Oh, it's cool. No, and I mean it's really hard, especially here in Nashville, because like you know, our live venues right now are like really struggling.
Yeah. I mean,
Our
it's like
smaller
a
venues.
yeah, it's like
And
the heart of the community there, isn't it? Like yeah, like
yeah,
life
like
type.
the
Yeah.
end, exit in, like,
Hmm.
some of these like smaller places, they're really struggling. And, other house venues, they're held in basements. So,
Yeah.
it's all right. But these venues that have like stood the test of time are really
Hmm.
struggling now and are on the brink
Oh
of
yeah.
closing. And it's really frustrating for us because we see Broadway, which is like our
Yeah.
big touristy area, and we are a tourist city. And so everything else has to close its doors. We can't have shows. And thankfully, I mean, our community, like I feel like the DIY community is very, very involved in what's going on currently. And
Yeah.
is also very invested in protecting each other. And so like no one will host a show because it's not ethical. It's not
Yeah.
right. It's not
Yeah.
safe, it's not right. And no one is gonna do that. So
Yeah.
we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. And then we see Broadway having shows every night I saw a tweet earlier that was like, knowing that our small venues are closing when, musicians on Broadway are butchering like country classics every night. And you
Yeah.
see hundreds upon hundreds of people on Broadway completely flouting restrictions, bars that like are money hungry, I mean, just open. And it's like it's so frustrating for us because like our community is really, really suffering,
Yeah.
but our city doesn't give a shit about us. All they care about is what makes them money, and we don't make them
Yeah.
money. We barely make ourselves money half the time.
Yeah.
And so it's been really hard. And I think that once we have the ability to open back up, I think people are really going to show up in ways that maybe they haven't in a while, because it's
Yeah.
very true that you don't really know what you've got until it's gone.
Yep. Yep.
So I think that at least for a while, until the community attention span kind of, withers as it sometimes does, I
Yeah.
think that once we're able to do it again, I think it's really going to be very powerful.
Oh yeah. And
So
I feel a lot of mentioning the DIY tech community and stuff. I feel a lot of similarities in that community to film photography also, and that kind of aesthetic and what's a, like that kind of frame of mind, I guess,
yeah.
really crosses over a lot.
Yeah, when you say DIY tech.
Oh no, DIY type the DIY type the community and the communities like that.
Oh,
How
yeah. Sorry,
yeah
I thought you
yeah
said DIY
yeah.
tech, and I was
Oh
like,
no no,
is there a
I might
DIY
have
tech community? I mean, of course there is,
uh,
but
no, but I mean like that yeah that DIY community and the photo community
yeah,
real similar yeah.
yeah, no, definitely, no, it's hard right now, but we will weather the storm. DIY will never
Oh yeah
die.
yeah.
DIY will
And
never die.
oh yeah, it's just it's been one of those years where um I think it's kind of like I call it, when I do it personally, I call it cocooning, where
Yes.
like I will just kind of withdraw for a minute and kind of kind of reset, and then you kind of get back out, and then emerge new or whatever.
No, I think I'm at the point. Yeah, I'm on the cusp of the need for a hard reset. I think around the beginning of the year. I think depending on when I get these machines up and running,
Yeah.
I think I might take a little bit of a break and just kind of like hard reset, because I'm actually, I've pivoted quite a bit with my career, because I'm not able to do live music, or tour, and so I'm
Yeah.
actually working full time for a Silicon Valley tech company,
Oh wow.
as well as working full time in my lab.
Hmm.
And I kind of have one foot firmly planted in both worlds, or one foot
Yeah.
unsteadily planted in both worlds. And
Yeah.
I can't really plant both feet firmly in either,
Yeah.
because they are both full time, and I love
Yeah.
what I'm doing. I work for a company called Gamesmith, which is kind of like LinkedIn, but specifically
Okay.
for the professional gaming community. So video
Oh,
game
cool.
designers, developers, artists, musicians.
Yeah.
And so I am the community manager. So
Cool.
I take care of all of our email marketing, and I do community involvement initiatives. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But like I said, both are full-time jobs, and I think I'm due for a little bit of a. I need to recenter. I also have a problem
Yeah.
with like taking on like 90 projects at the same time.
I have, yeah, I have that tendency. Like
Yeah.
no gets kind of hard when it's a cool thing. I'm like, oh yeah, I totally want to do that. But
Yeah.
then you say that to like 7 things, and it gets
Like right now, the big one that
a
people
little
have been
tricky.
asking me a lot about is my YouTube channel.
Oh
I've
yeah.
had a lot of people ask, like, when's your YouTube channel coming out? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm
That's,
so
yeah, that really is a whole other thing.
I can barely manage to get TikToks up. I've done like 3, and I'm like, dude, this is
Yeah.
exhausting. Like an
Yeah.
entire, like, I applaud you and everyone else in the YouTube video vlog community, because I'm like, okay, the process of filming this video, and then the editing, and then
Oh
all
yeah.
of it, I'm just like,
And I was working full time when I started that. We have a question I'll get to in a second. But when I was working full time as a graphic designer and photographer for a college for a few years, and then I started this channel with that. And it's just like every night I would go home, I would edit or record or shoot photos, and then just repeat. And it got to a point where it was just like, this is, if I hadn't been more experienced at both of those things, or if I wasn't more experienced already, uh so I could do that without, I could do it, I could go on autopilot at times.
right.
And I just, it's tough, like to put out one quality video a week is just a lot of work.
Yeah, dude, I can't even imagine, honestly. And like, I mean, that's kind of like why I think I'm having such a difficult time, because like with Gamesmith, I worked for Airbnb last
Oh,
year,
okay.
which was incredible. I loved
Yeah.
it. It was the best job I have ever had with the best company. Like I will never be able to speak more highly, I don't think, of a company than Airbnb.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I'll go off on a tiny tangent about them, but like
That's okay.
their entire mission statement is creating a world where anyone can belong anywhere. And
Nice.
working there, they embody it every day. Like I would see the CEO walking around just like talking to random people all the time. Like
That's
it
cool.
wasn't like you're removed from other teams. Like it's incredible. And
Oh yeah.
so I worked for them, and I got my first big taste, or my first taste of big tech, and
Yeah.
I loved
Yeah.
it. I
I
loved
have
everything about it.
I've been eyeing that industry, like product design and marketing design and just
Yes.
stuff like that. I'm like, I wish I could get in that door.
It's honestly, I feel like I got so incredibly lucky, and I'm from here. And Nashville has not always been what it is now. And so I mean, my idea of the big picture was very small town before I started working there, and like that glass ceiling that I had set for myself was shattered. Like
Nice.
my idea of big picture now is like bigger than anything it's ever been before. Like
Good.
things
Awesome.
like global things, like things that
Yeah.
big stuff. And
Oh yeah.
I'm so thankful to have had the opportunity to work there, and
Oh yeah.
I feel so incredibly lucky to have had the time there that I did.
Oh yeah.
And I was able to expand my horizons a lot, But that's, now that I'm with Gamesmith, it's a startup, and
Yeah.
you wear 90 hats
Yeah.
when you're working with
Yeah.
a startup. And so I am running, I am directing basically the entire
Yeah.
social media, the entire email marketing, the entire new user acquisition, user re-engagement. And these are things that I
Oh,
have not
yeah.
led before. And so
Yeah.
I'm in territory that is very new to me. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm in film, which I'm good at. I know it. I'm great. But like then I have to spend so much more time doing that. So I'm like
Yeah.
juggling, I work probably like 12 hours a day, 6 hours
Yeah.
on Gamesmith, 6 hours on film, and those are my days.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I think the advice I would give for the YouTube thing, if you really want to try to make that happen, is it sounds counterintuitive, but lower the bar a little bit on your expectations for it. Like
yeah,
you're gonna make some just hold the camera and talk videos probably. But if
yeah,
you have like a mission, like this is how like maybe just show this is my Noritsu, like I don't know if people have been introduced to that part of your lab
I
on
have
this
not.
stream. Uh, but it's like this is what needs to be done. This is what I've done so far, and kind of do a little progress, like 5-7 minute video, what I did this week kind of thing. And that might get your habit where you can start building it in where it's less work. And I think that's kind of what I did. I had to work to bring a camera with me when I would go on shoots. And we'll answer this question real quick before I let you introduce the equipment. And I guess we'll probably want to wrap up since I don't know how much longer you can talk.
Oh, I'm good. I
Okay.
cleared my
Okay.
calendar for today.
Okay, cool. So
Yeah.
we have a question. Do you think the break from your tour photography style will change? Do you think it'll change as a result of the break when you get back into it?
Um, no, I don't think so. I've worked really hard over the past, 5 years to create work that I really love on a consistent basis. And I mean, I'm always open to like the evolution of my style because I always want to be better and I always want to be doing new and innovative things. But the core of my style is displaying emotion through motion. And
Yeah.
so I think that will always be a principle of the work that I do. I will say, Early Humans was able to do this really cool drive-in concert. It was like a
Oh
social
yeah.
distance drive-in. Everyone stayed in their cars. We were up on this like shipping container.
That's
And
awesome.
I shot for them, and oh boy, I was rusty. Like I got to the point with my live show photos where I would shoot a roll and I would maybe have one or two frames that were bunk, and I would like half the roll I was just like, I hate it, I hate it all, I hate every bit.
Yeah.
But I think it'll take me a second to get back into the swing of it and to really find my
Yeah.
center of gravity again, but I don't know
Yeah.
that my style will change. If anything, I'll try and implement more style or more of things that I've been doing. I've been getting into a little bit more editorial. I did
Oh
a
yeah.
I did a color block shoot with Early Humans back in June, and it
Oh yeah.
was studio. Everyone had their own color backdrop, and then their outfits matched their backdrop. So it was like really
That's
really
awesome.
fun, and it was like
Yeah.
I've really wanted to get more into fashion and editorial that
Yeah.
way in general.
That's
Just
perfect.
more more studio work, and I love it. And so it'd be cool to be able to implement some of that, but really
Yeah.
like that whole like candid, go with the flow, crazy shit on stage stuff, that will always stay the same.
Yeah. And I think I mentioned maybe I don't remember. I basically started getting serious at photography shooting live shows. In around 2003, I got a Nikon D1, their
Yeah.
first like really good digital camera. It's like 2 megapixels, maybe
Yeah.
2.57 megapixels, but it could do 1600 ISO, and it looked
Yeah.
okay. And so I was friends with I still know them and everything, but this band called Isley. I don't know if you've heard of them.
Yeah. Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
okay,
Yeah.
cool. So
Yeah,
I
that's so
followed them
awesome.
all over the place, and they're from my local area, so they're like a local band to me.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
yeah, and so they're really cool people, and
The
most of them live
Ice
in
is
Nashville
so
now.
sick.
Yeah.
Isley is such a good band.
They're awesome. They're so good.
I know.
I love them. I mean, they're just wonderful people too, and I just really love the music. And yeah, but I think all but like one or two of them live in Nashville now.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's
Um,
very sick.
one of the singers, Stacy, started a band called Sucre with the drummer from Mute Math.
Yes.
That's her.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're really cool.
That's so cool. I actually I didn't realize that she was from Isley.
Yeah.
That's super cool. Honestly, I'm just sitting here like, how did I not know that?
Draw the dots. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But
All
she
the
was.
synapses are firing in my brain right now.
Oh yeah, and it was so fun to like. I would follow them to like Dallas, Houston, Iowa, Idaho, California, New York.
So
Just
cool.
yeah, it was so fun. And that was kind of like my taste of music. And I wouldn't like travel in the van with them, but I would like follow them along like the groupie. But I was friends with them, so
Yeah.
like I would get in the show and stuff like that. And but the biggest regret I have of all of that is I didn't shoot much behind the scenes. I was
Yeah.
just thinking, yeah, I wasn't thinking like a documentarian, and that's the one thing I really wish I had done more of.
Yeah, I think when it comes to like, especially like, I mean, I do it for live shows now too, but with tour, that's my favorite thing to shoot. That
Oh
like
yeah,
candid, just like day in the life stuff.
yeah,
I mean, that's my favorite style of photography anyways, just like candid, hanging around, doing whatever stuff. Like I
yeah.
have, I have, I have thousands upon thousands of
Oh
film
yeah,
negatives now. And like probably 65% of it is that just
yeah,
stuff, just mundane things, but
yeah.
pretty. I
Yeah,
guess.
and what's interesting is I was shooting all that stuff on these digital cameras, and I'm like, oh, this is really great stuff. I can get pictures I couldn't get before. But if I'd shot all of that on film, it would not look nearly as crappy.
Yeah.
So I have shows like this show was in Philadelphia, or this show was New York City, and it was awesome, or Los Angeles and Hollywood, and just like 4 megapixels, and
Yeah. I sound like a
yeah,
4 megapixel
oh
camera.
man. If I had 35 millimeter, it would have been so much nicer.
I mean, shit, that's how I feel when I shoot I had like a Canon something or the other. Or I don't even know what it was. I
Yeah,
was shooting with that for a while, and I felt that way about my digital photos on a good camera. Like,
yeah,
it's just not made for me. Digital's not made for me
yeah.
at all. I
Yeah.
I got lazy. I got lazy
Uh,
with
oh no.
it's too easy to just like go on autopilot, and my work
What?
suffered for it.
Yeah. What kills me with digital is everyone says it's an advantage that you can take like 2,000 photos. I hate it. I hate going
Culling?
through photos. Like I
Oh,
after doing that for 15 or so years, I just nothing. Just the feeling of dread when I pull up 1,500 photos in Lightroom. It's just
oh,
like I
yeah.
look through them, and I call now, but like if I don't want to marry the photo, I'm not touching it. And I go through and I'll like mark the photos, and I'll just think like I'm going to be the cruelest person ever to these photos. And that's if I don't feel like that, I won't touch them. But now I shoot a roll of film. I pick 12 to 20 out of them, and that's in the film choice takes care of half the edit ideas anyway.
Yep.
And that's it. Watch out for dust, and set the balance on the rebate, and that's it. It's so
That's
much
it.
easier. It's
Yeah.
I want to think more about taking the photo, and less about my eyes wanting to bleed.
Yeah. No, and that's really what killed me. The culling process was because I mean, I would go to a show and I would shoot 300 photos, and I'm like,
Hmm.
I get like 8 of them that I was like really stoked about, and I'm like, you know what?
Yeah,
That's just not worth it to me. But also too, like
yeah,
even my best shots on digital, they've been nothing
yeah,
compared to film, and it's because
yeah.
I know I am forced to be so intentional, and so like I totally
Oh
get
yeah,
that because like I have to focus on the moment. I have to be watching like a hawk every second, and like
oh yeah,
I have maybe like I can probably come up with like 6 shots in my brain right now that I remember I wasn't present in that moment, and I missed
yeah,
something, and I was like, oh my gosh, like
yeah,
it forces you to be very present in the work that you're
yeah.
doing with and be it forces you to know your camera really well too.
Oh yeah,
Every camera meters differently, obviously, but like especially with
yeah,
film cameras, like every camera meters differently, like everything you have to be one with it. You have to be one
Oh yeah,
with your gear
definitely.
in that moment, and then beautiful things happen.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I got to where it takes a special type of experience to both enjoy a show and photograph it,
Yeah.
because you can shoot a whole show and not have, it's like, oh, I missed that one song I like a lot.
Yeah.
But it took me like 10 years of shooting shows to where I could really enjoy it. And you never hear the best sound, because the best sound is never at stage, or especially on the
Mhm.
stage, unless you've got a monitor, you're not going to hear
No,
the
not
good
at
sound.
all.
But I'd gotten to, with Isley, I'd gotten so friendly with them, I would literally sit on the stage beneath
Mhm.
them, so I couldn't be seen, but I could take pictures, like by the drum kit and stuff like
Oh
that.
yeah, that's cool.
And it was fun, but I'm like, this is like, all the whole show is like bass drum, bass drum, bass drum, bass drum.
Yep.
It's like, well,
You can
that was a
basically
great
keep
song.
tempo and that's it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I discovered that, like, my first show I shot of theirs was in 2003 with Brand New and Hot Rod Circuit. And
Yeah. Oh
yeah,
man. That'd be
and that's one
so
of the
sick.
times I really wish I had taken pictures backstage, even though it was so awkward, because I didn't expect to be like sitting backstage with them. I barely knew them. And so,
Yeah.
like, I got to, for years before it became really problematic, I got to brag about, like, I was sitting next to Jesse Lacey for an hour. No big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's
Yeah.
that honestly, like, yes, they are problematic now. You know, it's interesting that you bring that up because that Brand New is my favorite band. And
Oh,
it's
okay.
really difficult to talk about. Because I think that people hear you say that and they immediately are like, are
Oh, yeah.
are you an apologist? And I'm like, actually, no.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a very very big advocate against cancel culture, and that is not to say in any way that I believe that there are people in this world who should be canceled, because
Yeah.
that is not the case. I think that there are people who have done unspeakable things and they deserve to be held accountable for that. And I think it, you know, at least for me, and this is my opinion, and this is not something that, you know, other people feel differently, and I completely respect that, and all I can
Yeah.
hope is that others will respect me. But I think that for me with that band specifically, there is an element of separating artists from artistry,
Yeah.
because there are other people in that band who made that music, and
Yeah.
that, you know, the album The Devil and God Are Raging Inside Me, that album, it I very much connect with music. I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh, yeah.
obviously.
I remember hearing about when they were making that and everything. And yeah.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, that album got me through some of the worst times of my life,
Yeah.
through some really, really difficult struggles that I had with my faith and with, just with myself.
Yeah.
And all of their music has done that for me. And it's not so much about worshiping Jesse Lacey or worshiping the band as it is about being
Yeah.
able to appreciate what their music has done for me in my life.
Yeah.
And, you know, I understand that some people cannot separate the two. And that's,
Yeah.
again, like, I completely respect
Oh,
that.
yeah.
But, you know, back in the, you know, it would have been cool to shoot them. You
Oh,
know,
yeah. Yeah.
I don't know so much now, you know,
I
but
can't, I didn't shoot pictures. Well, it's because it was the first time I ever shot like serious concerts. I got shot a concert at my university, the Voodoo Glow Skulls.
yeah.
But I didn't, like, I was a newspaper photographer, but that was the first time that those three shows I went to, I think it was three, I don't remember if it was two or three anymore, in 2003 on that tour, is like I had a little sticker. I've got my brand new backstage or photographer sticker still, like, that you wear. And
Yeah,
um
yeah.
yeah, but the first show was like, you were here for Isley, okay, get out of the pit. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
Like,
It
okay.
was one of those, like, nowadays I could have, like, just like, oh, can I stand by the soundboard or something, or
Right,
or off
right.
the backstage or whatever. But back then it was like, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you know, it's really cool. You mentioned like standing out, like, you know, pit photography, or like under
Yeah.
the stage and stuff like that. And I think one of the advantages of DIY is that it is very common for photographers to be all up in a band shit. Like, all, I mean,
Oh
just
yeah.
like on stage with them. Like, that is such a normal
Wow.
thing that, like, I weave in and out of band members and crowd all the time. And actually shots with and in crowd are some of my favorite as well, because I feel like you really get an idea of what it feels like to be in that show. And so I I will never forget. I have to tell this story. So I was on tour with Moru, and we were at our show in Chattanooga, and there was this guy who was probably like 3 times my size. I mean, he was just really tall, really, and he was crowd killing like the entire time. He was like really throwing some heavy punches, and I was shooting photo and video for the band that we were touring with, Catabasis. And at one point, I had like gotten into my camera and was about to shoot, and why am I blanking on this? Oh my gosh. The bassist of the band grabbed me by the scruff of my neck and yanked me back and was like, you are going to get fucking killed. And like the moment that he had grabbed me, literally a fish just went right in front of my face.
Wow.
And I was just like, he was like, you're going to get killed. And I was like, I'm sorry. He was like, get out of the fucking pit. And I was like, I can't. There's so much energy here. I have to capture this.
Oh yeah.
But it's super fun. Because like, I mean, that happens a lot. And like, you know, I work a lot in like the hardcore scene. I just love the energy of those shows. But you have to be so careful when you're working in a pit, because there are people who just like don't care, and like they'll crowd kill photographers, no sweat. And I like, sometimes at those shows, I have this zoom lens that I'll shoot. It's like a 70 to something millimeter. I don't even know, but it is probably like 10 pounds. And I have dome cracked a couple people like who came at me, because I'll tell people like, if I see them coming, I'll look at them and be like, And if they like get that look in their eyes and they like come at me anyways, I will whap them. With my gear, because it's not going to hurt my camera, but it's going to hurt you. Like,
definitely. That's what I
crack you.
There was a skate video directed by Spike Jonze years ago where he was at some spots filming somebody skating, and there was this older guy, and he had a Leica, and so this guy was picking a fight with them, or this homeless person was like charging at him and trying to push him, and the guy just let go with that Leica across the person's face, and it's just like put him down. It's like, that didn't hurt the Leica, I can tell you that much.
No, and like my camera, I say all the time, you could throw it off a cliff and it'd be fine, you know. But I've told people before, like, you come at me and I will hit you, because like I used to be one of those kids in the pit back in the day. Like I'm not afraid of it. I'm not, because I've walked away with more black eyes and bloody noses than I can possibly imagine, you know? So like, I'm not afraid of it, but I love the chaos. Like I remember this one show, we were at this place called Insanity Skate Shop in Alabama. And it was a pretty big crowd. And I mean, oh my gosh, it was like crazy. And I was like right in the middle of it and getting video, because it's just like, it's chaos. And like that's what you want to see in your photos and videos when you're at a place like that. That really captures like the energy. So, you know, it's cool being able to shoot from those angles. But I tell you what, like, it's hard. But thankfully, I mean, the bands that I tour with are really good to me. I actually broke 4 ribs on that tour.
Wow.
That was I got very, very drunk with one of the guys in the band, and it fell into a ditch because it was like pitch black outside. It was a total accident. But the next night we still had a show, and I was like green in the face I was just trying to be there and trying to shoot. And I remember there was this one kid who was like really drunk, and like I knew him because we were in a town that I lived in for a little while, and I told him, I was like, don't come swinging at me because I literally have broken ribs. And he was just like really drunk and like kept coming at me. And like I remember at one point he was like bulldozing, and there were some guys from the band that I was touring with who were kind of standing around me, and they saw him coming, and I have never felt more protected in my life. I feel like these 3 dudes who literally go and like shove this dude across the room, or like screaming at him in the middle of the set. Well, I'm just standing there like,
thankfully Isley shows are a lot more sedated.
No, it is chaos in the metal and hardcore shows. But I love it. And like I'm really like thankful that I get to tour with these dudes who are like super respectful of me. And like, you know, I tell people, I tell the guys that I tour with, I'm like, look, I need you to either pretend I'm a dude or pretend that I'm like not attracted to men, because that's like the way it works, because I'm not there
Oh
for
yeah.
anything like that. Like you hear a lot of crap in the scene, like from some
Oh yeah.
jerks about like, oh yeah, like you're just like a groupie and blah blah. It's like, no, I'm a professional photographer. I'm here to do my
Yeah.
job, and like I'm not here to like be a groupie or like sleep with the dudes in this band. Like
Yeah.
I'm here to shoot. I'm here to work, and it's really really great like working with people who like very much respect me and like respect the work
Yeah.
that I do. And like
Definitely.
I don't know, like I'm, like the guys in Early Humans, I've known them for 10 years. Like
Oh yeah.
I've shared a bed with all of them on the road. Like I'm, really good friends with them.
Yeah.
I never feel any kind of way like disrespected or anything.
Good.
Like you have to be very like, you have to be careful of that stuff on the road, but you
Yeah.
also just have to like understand that there are going to be times where you got to share a bed with someone or whatever. And
Yeah.
it's not anything other than just that's what's available,
Yeah. It's
So
utilitarian.
it very, very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I've always felt very, very respected in my community
Good.
being like a female photographer.
Good.
And I'm very thankful for that, because I know that
Yeah.
a lot of other women photographers have not had that experience. And
Yeah.
it makes me feel very, very fortunate for it.
Definitely.
So I know
Yeah.
I've gotten kind of down like a rabbit hole here. It's
Oh
just
no,
all
no, no,
kinds
it's
of
fun.
shit.
I was just like, I had kind of completely forgotten about concert photography.
I
And so
know.
just like, okay, well, because I would shoot these shows, and I was the only person in the whole venue with a digital camera when I was shooting them, except for the random journalist that was at the show.
Oh
And
yeah.
near the end, it was starting to get where kids were showing up with their Christmas DSLRs and stuff. But now I
Yeah.
go to a show and it's just like millions of cameras everywhere, and they get their phone photo with a filter on it, and it gets a million likes, and I'm like here doing the finest photo work I
Right.
can, and just like getting completely overlooked. I'm like, whatever.
I know.
Whatever.
I know. I experience that a lot, and it's like, cool. What I don't,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just how it is. Like,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I've had to learn, it's hard too, because like social media gratification feels very, very
Yeah.
good.
Yep.
And I've had to learn to be gratified to know the people that I know and have the experiences that I have,
Oh
and to
yeah.
be able to shoot and like to be gratified by my own work and experience, and to
Yeah.
leave social media out of it as much as I can.
Yeah.
And not to say that like it's the easiest thing in the
Oh
world.
yeah.
Like, of course I want to be discovered on Instagram. Who
Yeah.
doesn't, like,
Exactly.
I see people shooting for big bands and I'm like, man, I could do that. Like, I could really, really do that.
Yeah.
And, I just need someone to see it. I just need someone to see
Yep.
my work and like hire me.
Yeah.
That's all.
Rewiring. Yeah.
Right. But
Rewiring for all of that's different.
yeah, it is. It is. And so, it's hard sometimes, but, that's just the name of the game.
Oh
Sometimes
yeah.
that shitty iPhone photo is the one that wins the day, and
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
just has to
And,
be okay.
and what's funny is that I had just completely wiped my mind of it, and it's like, well, those were the days. And
Yep.
one of the sound guys for Isley's kind of like main sound guy for a long time became a barista at a local coffee shop. And I was there one night with a friend, and he's like, you know what, I miss your concert photography, you were so good. And it just
Aw.
went on and on about how great my photography was. And he's like, you should get back into it. And I'm like, okay, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And I kind of like made me rethink it. And then the virus hit.
Yep.
So I'm like,
Yep.
okay, but I'm still kind of hanging on to that thought for maybe sometime next year. Maybe I'll get to drag and I heard you on Analog Talk. I'm like, that's right. I had resolved it. Like, if I do concert photography ever again, I want to do it on film, because yeah, because I shot one Isley show. I think it was Isley. Yeah. On film, and like 2 photos came out. I shot it on a Hasselblad
Oh my
on Delta
gosh.
3200. I just chose the hardest possible thing to do, and I
You
only had like
did.
2 good photos, but I really like them.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Dude, I can't imagine shooting a show on one of those.
Yeah, my like Rufus, my teacher, actually shot concert. Like, he would set up 2 softboxes on the sides of the stage. And he's just an incredible photographer, like
Yeah.
at anything. Oh, you have somebody saying hi, Nick Gundy.
Hi, Nick. Hi, dude. I met Nick at Threat Fest, which is a huge DIY festival here in Nashville or Smyrna every year. And he's great. I love Nick. He's
That's
the
awesome.
nicest dude.
Oh, well, hello, and thanks for dropping in. Got a few people still around. But
Yay.
yeah, I could definitely keep going, but oh,
Yeah.
we need to mention your lab equipment and
Oh,
I
yes.
guess some future plans and for a minute. And yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I have actually had these machines for about 4 years, but I had nowhere to set them up. So very, very soon, my lab will be going industrial. I have a Noritsu QS, or it's a T15, which is a film development machine. And then I have a Noritsu QS 2611, which they are a disaster, but here they are. They're currently being serviced and cleaned and all that right now. But they were given to me for free by my film mentor Neil, who used to run the Willow Photo Lab out of Willow Springs, Missouri.
Awesome.
Um, he was the first person that I ever sent film to get developed. I ruined my first 10 rolls from loading my camera incorrectly.
Oh no.
I've told this story quite a few times, and he sent me 10 rolls of film back and told me to try again.
Oh, that's
Um,
really nice.
yeah, and so we just built this relationship, and he sold his lab to a couple guys up in Boston, and was like, I've got these other machines, if you can come pick them up, they're yours. And I was like, okay. So I spent like $600 to rent a huge box truck with a lift, and brought him home. And now that I have my studio, I'm finally able to get him set up
Cool.
and running.
It's
So
panning
it's
out.
gonna
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really going to streamline my lab, make it a lot easier for me to process high volumes, make my turnaround times faster, make my scans, even higher quality than they
That's
already
awesome.
are. So I'm very, very excited about it.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And so I guess we should tell people how they can see your work and how they can, if they want you to develop their film, how they could do that. And
Yes. So my website is tefilm.net. And there's a page there called the lab. You can do film development orders that way. If you are local, if anyone is watching from Nashville, and you can drop off your film, I actually take payments and stuff through Venmo and the like, because it is less expensive. I don't have to charge quite as much because of my website and the fees and shipping and all that stuff. So any locals can hit me up through my website. I have a contact form, or you can always message me on Instagram. I'm t.e.film on there, and I'm pretty responsive. For the most part, I get a lot of messages, so I try really hard to get to people quickly. But yeah, on Twitter, I'm underscore TE film. And yeah,
cool.
I also have a print shop. Oh yeah, I should talk about that
Oh
really quick
yeah,
too,
yeah,
because I
definitely.
forgot. So I have two print shops. One of them is called the Wildflower Gallery. And it is made up of a lot of just different non music photography related stuff that I've done, more nature and just ethereal things. And then I also just opened a new limited run shop today called DIY Till We Die. And it is a curated collection of 12 images from the past couple of years that are some of my best work, and I think best embody the spirit of Nashville DIY music. And it's limited run, so I have 3 prints each of the images in both 5x7 and 8x10. And once the shop sells out, then those images will go into the vault. The vault is something I created to help me not stay stuck on best pieces of work and to kind of move forward and create new things. So when I make
Like it.
prints, after that print run is done, the vault is where they go, and then they're not printed again.
Nice.
So yeah, so these are some of the, I think, the most iconic work, the most recognizable work that I've done over the past couple of years. And they are images that I love them, and I'm very proud of them.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm really stoked. The link to that is also tefilm.net/DIY till we die.
Awesome. I'll
So
try to
yeah.
include that on any rebroadcasts of this, or I'll
Yeah.
probably kind of clip up by topic so
Oh,
people.
sure. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm a rambling lady, I tell
Oh,
you.
I'm all over the place, so it's great.
Yeah.
But awesome. I guess you have anything else you'd like to add, or
Oh, I did have a couple of questions from Instagram that I
oh
can go
yeah,
through.
that's right. Yeah,
They're
let's do
pretty
that.
They're pretty short and sweet. So I'll get those. And
Okay.
hold on, I have to go to my archive. Oh Lord. Let's see. Oh, I think I'm going like close up blind too. What is that? Farsighted. I think I have to have bifocals soon.
Oh no.
I know. Your girl's eyes are bad. I'll be a candidate for LASIK here soon, so that's
Yeah.
exciting. Random thoughts while I'm perusing the interwebs.
Oh
Okay.
no.
So I have a question from J.A. Curio asking what's the best way to get consistent clarity and exposure and saturation on film. So I think that as far as exposure goes, just knowing your gear. Every camera light meter meters differently. And what I do is I will take a roll of film and I will shoot something specific and I will shoot it at various aperture and speed combinations. And I will write them down in my Shoot Film Co. photo memo notebook. And I will go back later and compare the shots to my notes and decide what I like best and use that for future work. It's a very methodical, scientific method type process, but it works.
Oh yeah.
And I do it for every film stock, everything.
That's awesome. That's a lot better than I do, which is
Figure it out.
I'm such a tech person, but
Yeah.
I'm just like, I got this new roll of film. I'm just gonna stick it in and see what happens. It's just,
I mean,
whatever.
Don't get me wrong, I do that a lot too. But that's a way when I really want to dial something in.
Oh yeah.
As far as clarity, I think that understanding your lens aperture is really important because obviously, like, I mean, on my Nikon 50 or my Nikkor 50 millimeter 1.8, the best clarity that I have is around f8.
Yeah.
You know, something like that. So knowing your lens, and again with those photo testing, just especially if you're autofocusing, I would recommend not autofocusing. I would recommend manually focusing so that you can really see what something crystal clear looks like.
Yeah, and if it's situational too, like shutter speed. Like if there's a lot of motion, you'll want definitely a faster shutter speed. If it's I meant to ask, like, have you dealt with cheap LED lighting before in concerts?
As far as like just
the refresh rate. The last time I shot an Isley show was in Dallas and had these really beautiful lights, but I don't know if they were like not the $1 million lights or whatever, but it was a nightmare because the flicker was so bad. And I would take pictures and they were black and I was just freaking out. I'm like, I'm not this rusty, but it was the flicker on the LED lighting. It was just like an earlier, I guess, like maybe not the highest end lighting kit or something. I don't know what it was, but it freaked me out. But that's just, a lot of it's just experience and familiarity. Oh, there's one red light bulb over the stage. I got to be careful because that's basically a safe light.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, that's another thing too. I work in a lot. I mean, the majority of my work has been performed in places that have really awful lighting. Honestly, when it comes to light, if this is kind of like an offshoot of that question, but if you're shooting live shows, and you're working with real bunk lighting, use it to your advantage. When I work with bad light, I do more motion work. I find the light, follow it. And look, like, I mean, even if you miss shooting, like, I'll shoot the first song of a set because it's always high energy. But if I'm having a trouble with my light, I'll take the entire next song and I will just walk around and I will just watch the light and I will follow it. I'll watch where it falls on people, their gear, and I take crazy shots of everything: people's shoes, people's guitars, amps, random stuff, like, because that kind of stuff helps, create an aesthetic for that band too. So that's just follow your light always.
My favorite thing was always like, find the one light and find the angle that gets it behind their head.
Yep. That's, you can always get some great shadow, like silhouette work, and shadow work works really well in that environment too.
And if you have like a few lights, it's your gold.
Oh yeah. If I have more than one light, I'm like, oh, thank you, Jesus. So my next question is from Michaela Hopwood, and she asked, how did you get into photography? How old? I'll keep this brief. I have been shooting on shitty disposable cameras since I was probably 8 or 9. I got into photography as a profession 5 years ago after my dad gave me my Nikon FG20, which is still my daily shooter.
That's awesome.
But the way that I developed my candid style was I would take disposable cameras to parties. We have a really big friends group, and we would have a lot of get-togethers, and I would just take photos all the time. And that's kind of how I found what I loved very quickly. Was that's what I like to do. I like to take pictures of people doing things and having that community with one another.
That's good.
So
And that's a good advice for anyone. It's like shoot what you find interesting or what you like like what you know, or like what you're drawn to, and you're going to get a lot more out of it. Because I didn't want to be a concert photographer. I just had when I was in this little phase where I just wanted to photograph everything, but and then I wound up going to this Isley show in Houston, and like, can I take pictures? And then I happened to have gotten a ride from one of the family friends, and they're like, yeah, take a picture, I don't care. And
yeah,
so one thing led to another, and I spent the next 7 years almost solid taking concert photos, and during that time realized that, oh, I can be a photographer.
yep, yep,
And
and a
yeah,
live
and
music one at that.
yeah, and you can make it work. It's not always a straight path, but if you follow the curves, you can get there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like literally shoot everything. You know, if you don't like something, don't do it at first. Wait till you feel really, really confident and competent with a camera and then
Yeah,
branch out. But like build up your confidence first, because that's super duper important. You know, going into any shoot feeling a lack of confidence is never fun. So
yeah,
do everything that you're confident with first, and at least have the confidence to know that you understand the principles of photography, understand what you're
yeah,
doing, and then branch into the unknown, and
yeah.
you will get your best results every time.
And I got into portrait photography because I had friends in a band who needed photos, and there
Mhm.
was also good portrait subjects in that band. So I'm like, okay, can I shoot a few pictures of you? And it just
Yeah,
branches out from there, and you kind of work through like, oh, these were all blurry. Oh, I wasn't shooting fast enough, or
right.
there's weird banding, and it's like, oh, I shot too fast for the flash I was using, and then you just pick up little tech things here and there, and you get to do it in a safe space with friends or whatever. And if you make it an exchange for them, like, you get good photos if you let me practice.
Right, right. I
Eventually,
mean,
sometimes, but you get them eventually.
that's how I got in. That's how I started working with early humans. I was like, can I just
Yeah,
like practice with you guys? And they're like, yeah.
yeah.
My oldest photos are of them.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, it's great. Another thing too. Oh wait. Oh, my brain died.
Oh no.
Oh, portrait photography. I actually got into that because of the pandemic. I was
Oh yeah.
terrified of portraiture
Oh wow.
before because
Yeah.
I have had a lot of very unflattering photos taken of me over my life. I
Oh.
actually am never the subject of photos
Oh.
because of it. And I was always terrified that I would take photos of people and they would feel as bad about themselves as some photos have made me feel
Oh.
about myself.
Yeah.
And so that this pandemic really forced me into
Yeah.
doing that kind of work. And now I love it. Now I'm
That's
like, oh, this
awesome.
is
That's
amazing.
great. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been forced into a lot more non-people photos than I've done in a long time,
Yeah.
and it's reminding me that I do like photography. I don't just like taking pictures of people or just like one thing. I just
Yeah.
enjoy photography. So
Absolutely.
pandemic
Yeah.
has some silver linings for sure.
Yeah. A little
Yeah,
bit for
not
sure. You
really the
gotta take it when
ideal
you
way
can
to
get
get
it.
the yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I can't wait for it to end, but
Yeah.
at least we've managed to find a way to get something out of
Yeah.
it.
No, we're definitely pushing through.
Yeah.
So I have two more.
Okay.
One from Juxtaposed Jake. He asks, why Nashville and not another music city like Austin or Seattle?
Hmm.
So this is a very quick answer. It's just where I'm from. And the South is kind of poor, especially this region. And,
Yeah.
this is not where I will be for the rest of my life. I have always dreamed of living in Chicago. I've always wanted to be there. But I've also dreamed of living abroad. We had an immigration plan in place in case Trump won the election. So we might still do it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I got a passport, so for that,
yeah, I've got
but I
mine too.
wanted one anyway, so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had mine because I've traveled abroad quite a few times over the past 6, 7 years. And yeah, this is my home and I love it here. And I love the scene here, but I am super down to live elsewhere and to explore those scenes as well. So
Yeah. Cool.
yeah, would love to do that maybe someday. Okay, I have, oh, gotta find my other one. Okay, here we go. All right, so my last question is from Mind of 80. And yeah, and he said, favorite film you wish you could shoot but can't because it died. Okay, so I don't think this is the right one, but there is a film that apparently it took like a whole like facility to develop, and it's like, is it Kodachrome?
Kodachrome, yeah.
That's the one, Kodachrome. I'm so mad about it because
Yeah.
I recently there's a guy on Facebook who had like a ton of like these old slides, and he was like, I just like have collected these over the years, I don't need them, and I just got a slide projector, and I was like, can you just like throw a bunch in a bag and send them to me? And he was like, yeah, sure. So there's a ton of Kodachrome in there, and I'm like, oh man,
that color rendition is like, yeah, the
it's
colors,
glorious.
like that's the one thing. Yeah, that's the one thing I wish. I could have shot Kodachrome, but I just wasn't interested. It was just, yeah, it was the wrong time for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, but I'm kind of, I don't know, like I understand that for sure. And my only other thing would be like any of the Polaroid 4x5 peel apart stuff. Like
yeah, FP100C.
Yeah.
I actually have 3 packs. I have 3 packs of FP100C, and I have 1 pack of the 3000B in my fridge right now, and I'm saving them for something real special. Because
I've got like 2 packs I need to shoot. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it so much. It's so beautiful. I love the camera that I have for it, and I remember back in 2012 or 13, I got my land camera. And I remember balking at the idea of spending $15 a pack on it. And now I am kicking myself. I was like, $12.99 or $15 for a pack. That's ridiculous.
I paid less than $10 a pack for the Fuji stuff. Like, I'm like, oh, I didn't like it. It's like, oh, it doesn't have a negative. It's trash. Like, oh, man, I would buy like 100 of those.
Oh my gosh. You have no idea how many of those I shot before I found out you could reclaim the negative. And I was like, oh, I just want to die. I wanted to die. I was like, I can't throw them all away.
Oh no. Yeah, I wish I had the like Type 55, and so I'm like a big supporter of anybody who's attempting to bring that back, even if it's expensive and subpar right now. The only way we're going to get back is if people want to spend a few bucks on it, and somebody gets to put in that work to revive the technology.
Have you bought the pack from the 1 cent or
Super Sense? I have some, and I was going to shoot some portraits right before the pandemic, and I've got to get those and shoot them, because if they're dried out when I try to shoot them, I'm going to hate myself.
Oh, I know. I've wanted to buy some film for them. I just haven't had the financial opportunity to do so. But as soon as I do, I really do want to support them, because I mean, anyone that can bring back, I want pack film, and there's such a demand for it. It makes no sense to me that like,
and my biggest problem is I see on the internet, and I'm like, okay, it's like, we got this like type, but the new 55 people, it's like, we got this, it actually is pretty decent 4x5 black and white film with a reclaimable negative, and it gives you a pretty nice print, but it's like $75 a box. And people are like, well, I'm not going to pay that. I paid $8 for a box of Polaroid 20 years ago or something like that. And it's like, okay, that's great, but
yeah. What is the deal? Like, what are you talking about? Yeah.
That was 20 years ago. I'm sorry. If you liked it that much, you should have spent $8 more often back then.
I know. And I really would, I'm thinking all those times that I was like, I don't wanna. I'm like, if I had just, maybe I could have changed the course of history.
Yeah. So when I hear about people, it's like the Cinestill's going up $1 or something, I'm like, well, they give you a specialty film that doesn't have a huge market despite it selling out all the time.
Yep.
And that doesn't have to be there, but it's not going to be and with inflation, I've done this on a video. With inflation, it's not really that much more expensive than it's ever been. Film is like, maybe by if you inflate it, it's maybe gone up $1.
Yeah. Yeah, and honestly, I mean, Kodak just announced, earlier this year that they were raising their prices, and it's simply because they can't meet demand, and that's a good thing. Like, I wish people understood that, like, film is alive, and it's growing again for the first time in a really long time. It's growing in real ways. Yeah, and like it's coming back, and like, yes, it does suck for our wallets to have to spend an extra dollar per roll of film, but like it
Yeah.
means something really great for the industry,
Yeah.
because if it can keep growing, those prices can come back down because more
Yeah.
people are buying it. And like that's the economics that we have to understand. Like
Yeah. It's like,
keep
yes, you,
keep buying
yeah.
it, keep shooting. You have to.
Oh yeah. It's like, I like it enough. I like slide film enough that I will spend the extra $10 per box for Ektachrome because it's just
Yep.
beautiful. And
It's
I
so
hope that
cool.
one day they'll do an Ektachrome 400 or some reformulated attempt at recapturing Kodachrome somehow.
Oh
Just anything
man,
like that. Yeah.
what a dream.
Yeah.
What a
If they
dream.
could just, yeah. But the only way they're going to get that kind of money to do that research and new design is if we pay a buck or two more for our packs of film.
Yep.
Kodak's not what it used to be. They're not money bags anymore.
Mm-mm. No, they're not. Like yeah, they're really not. They need every bit that they can get. So we have to
Yeah.
keep supporting these companies. You know, that's how we carry the banner. That's how we keep it alive.
Yep. Oh yeah. Well,
So
I guess we've probably covered enough for today. I could
I
definitely
think
keep going, but
so.
yeah.
Two hours of me rambling about everything.
Oh no, that's great. So for people who didn't get to watch or whatever, if you want to, like, if they look if you give them the link that we posted now, they'll be able to watch it for technically forever if they keep
Okay.
that link. But it's going to archive after this, and then I'll release clips. But so long as they have that link, they should be able to watch it, even though it'll be unlisted.
Awesome. That sounds all.
Yeah,
Yeah, great. I'll hold on to the link for sure.
cool. And that goes for anyone who's watching here. Oh, and Nick Gundy said something. Did you say nightly? But I'm not really sure what that was in reference to. Sorry.
Nightly. Maybe like I shoot a roll of film a day on.
Oh,
Maybe that's what he was talking about. If
yeah.
that is what it's in reference to, yes, I shoot a roll of film every day and I develop every single night on tour.
Nice.
So yeah, so I am usually up the earliest and in bed the latest. I get maybe 4 hours of sleep a night on tour because I have to develop, wait for it to dry, scan,
Yep.
edit. Yeah. So if that's what that was in reference to, yes.
Oh, the band nightly.
The band nightly?
No. Maybe I said Isley and it sounded like nightly or something.
Oh, okay.
But sorry.
It's cool. It's cool.
Oh yeah. But yeah, thank you. This has been a lot of fun, and
Yeah.
hopefully people will see it and they'll go and buy your prints and send you
I
some
hope
film to
so.
develop. And yep.
Yes, help me buy Christmas presents for my family. Buy some prints.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much
Cool.
for
And I
having me.
will.
It's been great.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, this has been a lot of fun. So I'll definitely be in touch. And I guess thanks everyone for watching, and
Thank
we'll
you.
see you later.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Where's my in stream? Here we go.